Yes, it's working. Okay. So, thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Stefan Wogrin. I'm an art historian, and today we'll talk about discovering new ways of documenting graffiti in Vienna. New ways because the INDIGO project changed my whole thinking about documenting graffiti, and in my whole documentation it's like a new impact also. So let me see how this works. So mainly we'll talk a little bit about about my own archive. I will talk about how my archive looked before the project INDIGO, what I did while the project INDIGO was going on, so what were my main parts of this project, and what also happened after this first part of the project was over, so which parts of this project were integrated into my documentation. So my documentation is called Spraycity. I started when I was younger, as a graffiti writer by myself. So I also started to paint and also started to document graffiti. Like graffiti was not long lasting, so for me it was the main goal to document this and capture it for the future. So today my archive comprises around 390,000 photos from Austria mainly, but also from international parts, so from all over the world in the meantime. It's accessible, some parts of this archive are accessible via the internet. Spraycity.at, you can look for the different cities. So this is the main web page. Just some data. The main part of photos, like 70% were taken by myself. I'm also collecting photos, like from the decades and parts where I was not into documenting, like before the 2000, like the 1990s, the 1980s and before. And so more than 270,000 photos were taken, photos from graffiti were taken by myself in the last 25 years. And yeah, this means on the web page, there are not all of them shown, but a lot of them, like 150,000 photos are shown. And from 74 countries and 529 cities were in this archive. So also from Belgrade and from Niš, from Serbia, photos are available and can be accessed via this web page. There's also an ongoing expansion, so hopefully the whole archive will comprise the whole world in the future, but let's see what happens. As I said, 150,000 photos are accessible online. This means I'm taking photos, the web page is not updated every day in this archive, so I'm collecting photos, so every update, which means I'm uploading new photos, like 50 to 100 new photos were uploaded all 3 to 4 days per week. 3 to 4 times per week, and this sometimes it's also from Austria, but also international photos. This web page part also comprises a press blog, like I'm documenting press articles, how the graffiti and street art movement is documented by the Austrian press. Mostly it's negative comments or negative articles, but some of them are quite getting more positive in the last years. Then I also have a blog. On this blog I'm showing all social media parts and contributions from Austrian graffiti writers and street artists. Because it's also possible to send some photos, but not all of them are getting to me. So the whole documentation done by mostly me, but also some other people are helping me from time to time. The ongoing documentation is based in Vienna, so the main focus is on Vienna. This means I'm going through the city 3 to 4 times per week, where I'm looking for new graffiti, document them, and these tours take around 1 to 6 hours per tour. So there are many kilometers of distances that I'm walking while these tours. Usually 1 to 2 photos are taken by of one artwork. This means mostly it's one photo from the center, but I will talk later. So the whole city of Vienna is the main research area. there's the donor canal, like the project INDIGO already documented, is the main, one of the main research goals, because there's a lot of going on, and so I'm going there many times per week. Also, I'm using online investigation for planning, like when I see on Instagram, for example, or like some other social media projects that some graffiti is painted on this and this place, I'm also going there, because sometimes it happens that when it's gone online, it's already removed in the public space. So it's really hard to document all of this graffiti. So mostly of this graffiti are taken by my smartphone at the meantime, but also with the camera. Smartphone I have every time with me, so it's much simpler for me to document this. As I said, I'm doing like one photo from the whole graffiti work. So I also want to have the surroundings, not focused on this whole only work. I want to have the surroundings on it. So I'm taking like a photo of the entire surrounding area to relocate it, or for later to see how this work was in the public space. So this is, for example, a former legal graffiti wall in Vienna. This was removed because it was just here for one summer. So nobody can take this photo anymore. Like example one is the entire work with a little bit of surroundings, and the example two is then where the graffiti is located. So like the whole wall, so you can imagine better. This is the historical museum of the city of Vienna. It was rebuilt some years ago, and while it was rebuilt, some parts of this construction fence were dedicated to a legal graffiti, or were dedicated legal graffiti zone. So the typical sorting order, it's a little bit different to the INDIGO project, because it's I'm sorting it like year, the month, the city, and the location or the type. In the online archive, it's a little bit different, so you can mainly search by country, per city, and then the type. So basically, it could be like Hall of Fame, like a legal graffiti zone, street bombing, line, which means next to the railway tracks, and all those file names in my offline archive are mainly tagged by myself. So this was the online archive until 2020, so I'm talking before the INDIGO project. As you can see, there was just a small amount of metadata in the photo described. So it's mainly this was mainly the city, which area it is, and there was not much metadata about the artists, about the colors, about the different tools that are used. And this developed later on. So there was also a graffiti map Vienna introduced in 2018. So the whole archive from Vienna, mostly the whole archive of Vienna, is possible to be accessed via this map. So every location is saved into the photo data. Yeah, this is an interactive map, so you can click on these areas. For example, there are some walls where more works are shown, like some areas, some paint, some houses or buildings which get painted many times in the last years. You can see how these houses and buildings changed, and you can also search for locations. So every of these entries in this map is accessible via the street name, so you can just access it when you type in the street name. This was also done for the Danube Canal, so this was also before Project INDIGO. I also started to take photos from the Danube Canal, and those were manually tagged, so not with the GPS data inside of the photo. I had to take it by myself on the map. And I used the bridges as a separator. So I used like these areas between, for example, the Marine Bridge and the Salzdorf Bridge. And this is the space. And so you can access this space directly and see how it changed So you can see when you click on the map, you see all these photos which were painted in this area. But later on you can also separate it by year and also by artist. I also started to take these photos in the city area, so all these houses, for example, at Rechte Wienzeile, it's a street in the city where a lot of graffiti can be found. So I started, because there's also a lot of painting going on. Usually one of those houses is getting painted in 2 to 3 times per year, but illegally painted. So you can see how it changed, so how this whole walls looked years before, and who painted and how it was painted. So this was before the project Indigo, and then Gerd already introduced our project. And I will talk a little bit about my part of this project. So my main part was connecting mainly the graffiti community with the research community. But I was also taking photos, so this is just what Gerd already said. After his total coverage, I was taking 1 to 2 times per week these photo tours. And for me, this was a completely new experience in taking photos of graffiti, because, as I said, mainly I'm taking 1 photo of the entire work and 1 of the surroundings. And with this project, I've learned new methods to document graffiti in Vienna. So, like Gerd already said, we use this color checker and spectrometer to get it really color accurate. So first of all, I had to check the color with the spectrometer. I had to make a photo of this color checker. Then I had to move away a little bit, focus on the work, take a photo of the overview, and then take many photos of one work, and Metashape did the rest then, I think. Well, yeah. Which is really important is to keep records of this documentation, so that you keep in mind which areas you already where you already took these photos. So we had this data acquisition logbook introduced by Gerd. So around 500 to 2,000 photos were acquired in every tour. So compared to my archive, as Gerd said, I took almost 100,000 photos while inside the project Indigo. And in Spraycity I did around 300,000 photos, so it's much more focused from one area. Gerd already introduced our monitoring system, so we had like this SUS Arcis field maps app, where you can manually add these lines and polygon shapes, and we used it on a tablet and a smartphone to keep records of which graffiti were painted newly at the Danube Canal. If somebody else, because we were more photographers, mainly I did these photos, but some other, Gerd also took photos, so we keep in mind who already photographed one work. So all these black rectangles are our research zone, and here we also separated every wall from this Danube Canal, so we can see with overview photos directly in a specific zone what change happened, and yeah. Then also the Graffiti Thesaurus in Indigo. My part was like giving knowledge about the graffiti community, because in the last 25 years I've also read a lot of books about terminology, and nowadays it's also not sure, in the graffiti movement it's not sure what is street art, what is graffiti. Also the term graffiti and the singular term graffito is differently used, but please don't use the term graffitis. Also we introduced the hashtag Indigo Donaukanal, which helped us a little bit, because the graffiti writers from Vienna started to tag their works done at the Danube Canal with this hashtag on Instagram. So we could also see which works were created newly there. But afterwards I have to say that most of those works which have been tagged with this hashtag were already documented by us. We also started to introduce a Gallery Wednesday. This means on every Wednesday we uploaded a part of our photos which were taken in the last week. This was mainly to interact with the community, to get the focus from the community to our project. And mostly those writers shared this post. They were happy that we photographed their works and that we have linked their profiles. And so in the end, mostly or many writers started to paint, especially on the Danube Canal, to be featured in this Gallery Wednesday. So this was really nice to hear. Also, a really good impact, or really from the INDIGO project, is that we introduced this idea of having 3D models of graffiti to the writers community, to the writing community, because not everybody knew about this method, so they started to use the Polycam app and create their 3D models for themselves. So this is also, I think this 3D visualization of graffiti also was really influenced by the INDIGO project. And also some writers in Vienna started to create much bigger 3D visualizations of their works. So, but the INDIGO project, what happened to Spraycity after this INDIGO project, because I was also thinking a lot of how I can use these inputs from this research project for my documentation. So on the left side we see the platform from, or the photo archive before INDIGO and then afterwards. So first, mainly I had this with this sorted by Austria and this international, so I started to get more sets like football graffiti. I also introduced political graffiti, I introduced historical graffiti. Historical graffiti, for example, the Stephansdom, the St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna, the main landmark of Vienna, is one of the graffiti hotspots, but not mostly from contemporary graffiti, but from ancient graffiti, or from graffiti from the last 300 to 400 years. So I tried to implement these works into Spraycity, and it also helped me to think a little bit about these new methods. So I started to rethink this idea of the 2D visualization of the map. So the graffiti map Vienna was, there was a new part integrated where you can click on every street name which is already in the archive, so you can see which artworks or which works in general are painted in one street or one square especially, and also look how these areas developed over the last years. Also from the train track sides, also next to the main line, the S-train line, I started to separate all these walls which are visible from inside of the train while you're passing through. There are different walls which are covered with many graffiti, or mostly, or in the stations there are a lot of pieces, but also mainly in the stations those pieces were removed already, so you can only have a look into the past. And when you click on all these walls, you can get, you will straight come to this online archive. This map visualization is also introduced into the photo archive. I started to connect it with the GPS data. So when I'm taking photos right now, I also started to collect this GPS data, which are written into the EXIF data, and the online photo archive can automatically generate this map in OpenStreetMap in the overview or in the info section of every photo. What's also new is that I added the metadata of who photographed it and also the creation date. So mainly before there was only when the photo was uploaded. Like as Gert already said, there are some difficulties when you only have this not that accurate data. And what was also new is what I introduced last year is to interact with the community a little bit more. Sometimes it's not clear which names are written, which artist painted which work. So mostly asking, it's like an open call for the community to interact, contribute, and write their thoughts about some artworks. And these informations are checked, and if they are right, or in my opinion are right, I will add these informations to the metadata. The metadata itself was also completely overthinked, so this is the interface where you can in which you can look at the online archive. You have you can separate it through which artist painted this, the category, the city. Was it an exhibition? You can change the house number. So if you have a street name, you can mainly also change. For example, I want to see Rechte Wienzelle number 15. Then you will get all photos from this location. Also the medium. Like it's a residential house, is it a business building, is it a wall next to the train track site, and so on. Also, like what I like is the idea to separate artist and text, because artist is mainly used for the legal graffiti zones where it's officially painted, and text I use mainly for those areas where it's not completely allowed. So I'm just use it for sorting it, and don't want to get or don't want to make a hint for investigation on not legally done paintings. Yeah, so for example, there's the content metadata where you can separate it on which content is painted, like animals, for example. You can separate it through which parts of the body are painted. For example, the head is painted, the hand is painted. You can have different comics, designs, and other stuff. You can also search for persons, presidents, for example. Also introduced some new types, like in INDIGO. It's yeah, similar, like the condition crossed and crossing, buffed or faded. Like I'm separated it like if a graffiti is crossed, so it's active, it's not actively crossed. The painting which is visible is still the same, but crossing is inside of the work. Or the condition crossing is the photograph often actual work which is crossing over. So like parts of the overpainted work are still visible. Also the condition faded, because this has a really great impact about how the colors are changing. Like mostly those colors are fading around 10 to 15 years after it was painted. So to get this information also, like this is not the actual color which was painted, it's you can separate it also. And also like the buff. Buff means if a graffiti or graffiti work is being removed or partly removed, so like in this example on the left, this is not the actual work which was painted, like because the windows were already cleaned and some parts are missing. So this is the condition buffed at the moment. Yeah, and then many other metadata are being added, like the train companies. You can separate it for like ÖBB, Deutsche Bahn, all surfaces where graffiti are carried. Yeah, and also from Belgrade, you can also have a look on the archive. There are some already on the map, but not all of them. Mostly the photos were taken at my first visit 7 years ago. Yeah, but let's see which photos I will take in the next days for this archive. So yeah, this was mainly what I was thinking about INDIGO and Spraycity was going on. Thank you very much.